Okay, so what are chakras? Chakras are apparently coming from Tibetan culture. They're energy centers located in our body, and the word chakra means wheel or vortex. And when you think about what is a vortex is a spiral, and it's going in different directions, creating essentially like a gateway, a pathway in or a pathway out. And when I started really observing more sort of physics science behind vortexes, I came to understand my chakras in a new way. And I first started meditating with chakra meditation since I was 16. And it was actually the first meditation I ever did. And I really liked it because I could literally feel in my body where these chakras were by using my conscious awareness and opening and closing this lotus flower petals. And I could literally feel energy moving inside my body. So I found it really fascinating, and I thought, that this was good stuff. And it did lead me into a lot of energy explorations at a young age. But in 2015, a friend of mine, she mentioned that she was going to remove her chakras. And she was over in Peru, where I'd just come back from. And I was thinking, why would you remove your chakras? And I mean, they're meant to be good. They're meant to be helpful things. And, I thought maybe you've just done too many ayahuascas or something, because you just sound a bit crazy. I don't think I want to remove my chakras. I need them, right? I need them. And I left it alone thinking about that for a long time until last year, which was 2020. And I started reading, or listening rather, and reading actually, read his website, listening to the content of a physicist magician called Tim Refat. And he was talking about chakra removal, and he was showing you literally how to do it. And the way he explained a lot of his content, I really resonated with it, because I've had a lot of odd experiences in my life, spiritual experiences, that when he explained the physics behind the magic, I kind of understood what had happened to me. And so my heart really resonated with his information, even though my head still doesn't quite comprehend all of it, because it's quite high concepts or physics concepts that I don't spend much time studying. Anyway, he's showing how to do it. There's another guy I'm listening to, Tony Sayers. He's already done it. And there's two people I really, I like their content, I like their information. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna remove mine too, because if I do remove them, I can always put them back. So, I can do whatever I want with my body. And the reason is what I've come to believe is that these energy vortex gateways are sites where parasitic energies can plug into you. Because we have this giant dimension-full unseen realm. There's so many things going on in there. And I have been able to see parts of these realms since a young age. I kind of go in and out of different stages of being able to see or hear things. And so when I started having more problems with, identifying parasitic energies in myself and also my clients, I, started really thinking a bit more strongly about these chakra points, because if they are access points into our body, then we need to keep them protected. And doing like a chakra meditation, where you're kind of like opening yourself up to bring in higher energy or different consciousnesses or connect with other beings, it's not necessarily a positive thing, because whoever you invite in whether or not it be by conscious invitation or by some kind of unconscious invitation. You have essentially given up the rights to your vessel to something else to come in and hang out there like a host. And that's why I'm calling this energy parasitic, because just like we have parasites in our gut that can basically take all of the nutrients so you don't absorb the nutrients, and you're feeding the parasites and they're just living inside you like hitchhikers, we can have exactly the same thing going on in the spiritual dimensions. And it's a little bit more harder to identify because we can't see or detect them through physical diagnostic means, but they can be seen and detected in other ways, and that's what I have been getting really good at with helping myself and helping clients. And when you have these parasitic invasions, and because they're located on these chakra points, you're going to perhaps have physical, mental, emotional symptoms. And most people think, oh, it's because of my diet, or it's because of my emotions to do with whatever happened in my life, but often it can be due to these parasite energies causing trouble in your body. So I've got a couple of stories just to help illustrate how to identify energies that are not yours. So one story was back in 2013, and I had just recently started seeing a guy who I was actually told to fall in love with in a dream, which was quite interesting. And we did meet and we got together, and he was staying at a house that was not his house, and I think it was his recent ex-partner's house, and there was a lot of emotional stuff going on between them, and she wasn't there at that time. And so I stayed there, and then the next day I came back to my house and I was trying to study. I was in my final year of my degree, and at that time I was doing a lot of meditation, a lot of qigong, a lot of tai chi, and studying Chinese medicine. So my whole life was kind of spiritually focused. And anyway, I came back and I was trying to do my work, and I just felt different. Like I felt so heavy and sad and depressed and just really blah, like I couldn't think. I had like an apathy for my work. It felt really different. And I was trying to shake it all day, and then I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna have to get into my physical body and just try and exercise it off, because when you move your physical body, you can shift your emotional state. So I left the house and I went walking all around the park, and I walked down to the ocean, and I walked, and it was just still lingering and still hanging on. And as I was walking back through the park, back home, I had this thought in my head, and I thought, this energy is not mine. This is not me. This is not my energy. And the moment I said that, I had this like aha moment, like this energy is not me, it's not mine. And then I said, the energy that is not mine, that is in my body right now, you have no permission to be here, and you have to leave my body now. And as soon as I said that, and I sent it out of my body into the earth, into the grass, I felt like I'd been reset back to myself. And I realized that energy had come from the house that I was in, and the emotional energy field that was in the air in the place that I'd stayed, and it had kind of imprinted onto me. And that had possibly happened through my chakras, because I was, close and intimate with someone. And I caught like a hitchhiker, you could say. So that was, a first kind of conscious identification of picking up an energy that was definitely not me, and it was easy to get rid of. But some of them are not so easy to get rid of, because you just don't know that they're there. And they can be running your vessel, pretending to be you for many, many years, and you just think it's you. You think that's how your emotions are. You think that's how your thoughts are. But then something in you also knows that that's not true, because you might have these thoughts that are like, you know, you'll get this weird thought in your head and you'll be like, I don't think like that. That's not me. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't think that. I wouldn't want to do that to anyone else or myself. Or, you know, a lot of people have suicidal thoughts. And, you know, that's probably not them either. So the other story is interesting. It's when I was in my New Zealand clinic, and I lived in a community, and we had a festival happening. There was a big yoga festival. So you can imagine there's a lot of people doing yoga, and probably a lot of chakra meditation and all of that kind of spiritual style of things that happens there. And, you know, I was in the festival, but I don't attend workshops. I was already at the stage where I don't attend other people's workshops. I'm quite careful about I don't even do mantra unless I know what it means. And anyway, I just, you know, my friend was there, and she introduced me to her two friends of hers that were now new friends to me, and they were all running off doing workshops and doing all this stuff all day, and I was actually just in the evening hanging out in my clinic because it was in my house, and I get this knock 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 on the door, and the three of them are there, and they're holding up one girl in the middle, the two like kind of helping her walk, and she's dead white, like white as a ghost. I've never seen someone that white before. And she was like kind of like not consciously in her body. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, what the hell happened here? And the two girls, my friends, they're really upset, and we bring her in and we put her on the table, and I'm asking what happened, and they said, oh, she's just been in a sound healing. And I was like, oh, okay. And I knew who that was with, the practitioner. And what I do know about his work, I've never attended his sound healing, but I do know that he opens up vortexes above everyone, and he brings in entities or aliens to help the people that he's doing the sound healing with. They're like his alien entity assistants. But I'm not sure if he actually tells anyone what he's doing, which I have a problem with that, to be honest. And so I knew that she'd been in that environment. Okay, check one. What else has she been doing today? Well, she's been running around in the hot sun, so she's probably dehydrated and maybe a little bit sunburnt or sunstroked. So she's, you know, her immune system would have been lowered because she's spending more energy than she's putting back in, and probably not eating right. And she went from hot sun to cold swimming pool, hot sun to cold swimming pool, a lot of meditation, a lot of yoga, a lot of ungrounded kind of things, and then finally finishing the day with a sound healing. And sound, we all know, if we've been in a sound healing, how super powerful that can be for your physical, mental, emotional, energy bodies. So anyway, she'd done all that, and then she was in this state on my table, and I was like, oh gosh, what do I do? This is kind of new for me. And I just start doing acupressure on all of her physical body. I'm trying to wake up her body. I'm trying to get her back in her body by really hardly pointing my pointy fingers into her acupressure points, which is generally quite painful for people, just to stimulate and open her channels so that when the energy starts moving, it has these clear pathways of how to leave the body, because the energy leaves on the fingertips and the toes at the ends of the channels. So I'm doing all that, and the two friends, they're upset. They decide to go downstairs because they don't want to be there. And I'm working away on this woman. I'm doing abdominal massage, and I'm just trying to get her back in her physical body. And as I'm doing this, I look, through her energy field, and what do I see here? There's a face, like a little naughty-looking face that's not human, and it's got pointy ears, and it's like, and I'm like, well, you're not meant to be there. you don't have permission to be there, you have to go. And I basically said, you have no permission to be in this child of God, and I'm now creating a vortex at the end of the room. It's a one way back to source, and you are now leaving. You have no permission to be here. Goodbye, back to source. And I kicked it out of her body. And the moment I did that, she went from being pale white, lying down, to sitting bolt upright. All this colour came back to her face, and she immediately threw up. And I had to get a bucket, and it was, yeah, and after she threw up, she burst out laughing. And I burst out laughing, and everything was all better. And it was very, very interesting. So to me, that's a case of her picking up something, possibly from that sound healing, possibly from another person, possibly from anything that happened that day, or possibly it was already in there and it just happened to be the time that it needed to go, and it was there for years, who knows. But it was there, and we moved it on, and she came back to herself again. And it was attached in a chakra point. It was in the solar plexus. And, you know, adding up the fact that she had been running around, possibly being dehydrated and a bit malnourished, that energy, that digestive energy, could have been a little bit weak, leaving her more vulnerable, immunity-wise, to having something jump in there. So that's, yeah, I've got many more stories like this. I'm sure I'll share them on other videos. So knowing all that, and also a little bit more detail about the chakras, we have 7 of them, right? They're located, you know, along the spinal column, and they're located at points where we have glands. Most of them are located on gland points. And what do glands do in the body? Endocrine glands, they produce hormones. And hormones send messages chemically throughout the body, telling and instructing the body what to do, what to switch on, what to switch off, what to build more of, what to discard as waste. All of that, that's all done with hormonal interactions. And when they're in your brain, they're called neurotransmitters. So these chakra points are basically laid over hormone sites, and at hormone sites there's a lot of nerve plexuses, which is basically the junction point for the superhighway of nerves that all have a meeting place. So it got me really thinking on this, like, you know, okay, if this chakra information in the first place was channeled through by some kind of Tibetan monk, medium, in a cave, whatever, wherever it came from, the original source of this chakra information. And if this meditator was possibly, I don't know, I'm theorizing, if he opened himself up for, you know, show me some higher information, and some entity comes in and says, well, if you put these energy centers here, then you can bring in, you know, information from outside of yourself, and you can be more powerful. And the way I think like that is because I've actually been in a meditation where I've been trying to connect with a friend on the other side of the world, consciously, both people meditating towards each other at the same time. And I had an entity come in and start talking to me. And it was quite funny because it said, if you continue to work with me, I'm going to make you super powerful. And I was like, what's your name? And he said, and he talked like this, like very grand, and like it was kind of comical, and it was like acting, like really bad acting. And he said his name, and then I said, okay, well, where do you come from? And he said, oh, well, I come from Orion's Belt Nebula, like kind of fishing around to just say anything. And I was like, cool, okay, no thanks, I don't want to work with you, please go away. And he was like, but if you work with me, I'll make you super powerful. And I'm like, no, please go away, I don't want to work with you. So that's how I know from experience that these things are out there and they're looking for a body, a host. Just like a parasite needs a host, these things are looking for a physical body so they can jump in and have some fun. And so I got thinking on that and about how the chakras possibly were given in maybe a duplicitous way, theorizing. And, you know, what better place to put these vortexes that they can hook into and attach into than on, you know, energy centers where you have a high transmission of electrical energy going. So, you know, that's one logic I have behind it all. So, yeah, I got thinking, okay, I'm going to remove my chakras. If I want to, I'll put them back. It's no big deal. It's my energy body. I can do what I want. So I, laid down on my clinic table and I started, you know, at the bottom, and I started, you know, using this kind of imagining the vortex spin in two different directions, the chakra wheel, the vortex, the gate, and feeling, you know, what they were doing. And I sort of moved from the bottom one to the next one and then kind of sorted that one out. And then I just basically pulled them out through my crown chakra, and I just worked on kind of, you know, like unscrewing them, like you would unscrew a bottle cap to free it from its position. I was like unscrewing them, and then as I was unscrewing them, I was pulling them out the top of my head, and it was kind of like a process, like keep pulling like a string. And as I kept, you know, doing this all with my mind's eye, you know, just lying there. I'm not physically doing this, but I am. And as I'm pulling all this out, it's gathering into all of this wires, like kind of like it looks quite matrixy, like they look kind of like robotic wires. And I'm pulling it out, and it's getting too much. And I'm like, oh, I've got to do something with this. So with my imagination, I create a little bubble on the floor next to me. And as it's coming out, I'm putting it in the bubble. And I'm just putting it in the bubble. The bubble is contained, nothing can escape. And I'm going to basically contain everything so I can get rid of it. And as I'm putting all of this into the bubble, you know, I get everything out, and then I look over at the bubble with my imagination, mind's eye, and in the bubble, all of that wiring system has started arranging itself, and it arranged itself into a fetus version of me. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, it's like an AI interdimensional self-replication copy. It's trying to copy me. And anyway, I sent that through the vortex back to source. And by the way, when you create these vortexes, you know, like a gate back to source energy, make sure that it is designed with only a one-way valve. It goes in one direction, which is away from you, and it doesn't have a way to come back in the other direction. And it has a door that closes forever. So that's what happened when I removed my chakras. And another thing about what you may notice if you've got these parasites is that, especially to do with the sacral chakra, I've noticed, when I did have my chakras there, and I noticed that sometimes my sacral chakra would start feeling active, like I could feel energy in there when I came into contact with certain people. And I've noticed that that was usually men, not always men. And what I've come to conclude about that is that if that person has a parasite in their chakra, and you do as well, they're actually starting to communicate with each other and start talking. And they're going to try and generate some kind of energy between the two of you, maybe like attraction, and so that they can basically start making themselves stronger or creating an energy resource that they can feed on. Because what do these parasites need us for? They want to use our energy, because we are literally rechargeable batteries. Every cell contains certain amount of electrical voltage. We're quite amazing. But yeah, if that parasite energy is in you and it's feeding off your energy, then you're essentially being siphoned, and you might get sick, you might get tired, you might get emotional, all these kind of things, and it's probably because it's something in you that's siphoning your energy. So that's a really good reason to do it as well. So yeah, you can kind of think about this chakra system like a false energetic overlay, which you could call kind of like a system virus, that if you've ever done a chakra meditation and activated your chakras, then you've essentially opened up these doorways to other dimensions where you can be more easily accessed, which, yeah, I did when I was 16. And believe me, I've had an interesting life in the spiritual field of information, I guess, spiritual topics. So just on the topic of energy centers, you may have heard, if you've studied Qigong or Tai Chi, about the 3 Dantian. So the Dantian are what you might say the more original energy centers. And there's an upper one, a middle one, and a lower one just below your belly button. These are 3 main energy centers. And it's interesting because in the Maori healing, which I've studied a bit of in New Zealand with some Maori people, they talk about these 3 energy centers also, and they're called the 3 hearts. And in Irish mythology, there's 3 energy centers also, and they're called the 3 cauldrons. So we're meant to have these energy centers, and this one in the upper, it's obviously in your brain, and it has your pineal, hypothalamus, and pituitary glands, your endocrine glands. And then this middle one, that's kind of like your upper organs, your heart and your lungs, and the thymus gland and the thyroid, it's all sort of there. And then the lower, you've obviously got your lower digestive organs and your reproductive organs. So these are called these 3 energy centers. And what's interesting about that is that the chakras, there's actually one above and one below every energy center. So it's kind of like, if you thought about these 3 energy centers, and then you've got the crown and the thyroid chakra sandwiching the upper dantian, and then you've got the thyroid and the solar plex sandwiching the heart dantian, and then you've got the solar plex and the root chakra sandwiching on the sacral energy. So that's quite an interesting observation I've got. So yeah, that's about it for chakra removal. I would suggest that you try it. I'd look at Tim Rifat's videos, or Tony says he does a chakra removal service. I have not tried that. I've just done my own. So yeah, there's different options you can do. I guess it just depends on your level of imagination or your intuitive awareness of your own body. And another interesting thing about chakras is that, they're often shown in this new age way of, there being rainbow colors, like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. But the traditional Tibetan ones, they were not rainbow colors. They had all different colors going on in this petal arrangements. And they also had animals in them, and they had animals all around them, which I'm kind of wondering if that's like the entities floating around. I don't know, I haven't really studied much Tibetan chakra information, so it's interesting. They're not rainbow colors, and a friend of mine who has studied a lot of this, he's always saying they're not rainbow colors, they're not rainbow colors. And yeah, when I did a meditation retreat years ago, something opened up in my heart space, and I imagine it was like my heart dantian, and it did have petals, and there were thousands of them. There weren't just 12 or however many are meant to be there. It was like multifaceted, fractalized, and it was all pearly white, and every single petal had this like rainbow sheen, like all of the colors reflected as light. So yeah, I mean, these energy centers are definitely there, you know, these upper, middle, lower. That's what I would tend to focus on and practice with, and you know, qigong and that kind of teaching. But yeah, maybe not every energy center of different people look the same. Who knows? But yeah, I think I'll tell some more stories in a different video, because this one's already getting long. Just a handy tip while I remember. You can see here I've got some selenite, which is a crystal. It dissolves in water. And this is a recommendation by Tony Sayers on his chakra removal video, that if you put selenite in the water, like I've got here, this is actually in distilled water, and you can leave that to soak overnight, and then drink it in the morning and refill it, and do that for 30 days. And that's to help get out any nanoparticles from your body. And so I looked up the selenite crystal in my Taoist crystal medicine book. Go away, fly. And it says in there that the selenite can be used for detoxing the body from harmful radiation, such as x-rays or x-ray machines at the airports, that kind of thing. So that's a pretty handy tip. And also, just on the subject of the parasites and what they look like, I've seen them in the in-between dimensions when I've done, you know, sort of meditations and that kind of stuff. And what they look like is what those matrix octopuses look like. Something like that. Yeah, the ones I saw, they were like sort of flying around in the sky, and they kind of look like jellyfish, like mechanical jellyfish. And Steve Richards from Holographic Kinetics, Aboriginal Dreamtime Healing, he's also talked about the same kind of creatures. So there's something to this, and why the Matrix film series shows them in that way is very curious, because there's a lot of truth in that film. But yeah, anyway, that's what they look like. Well, they have different forms, of course. That's one of their forms.